My sister texted me. Not everyone has your privilege. Some of us rely on family. A minute later, Mom added. That's why you send that support every first, quietly. I just nodded. But that night, I logged into my banking app and hit cancel on the $2,000 recurring transfer I'd been sending them for 3 years straight. At 6:03 a.m., my phone vibrated. The payment didn't come. Then, rent's due. And finally, you promised. I didn't respond right away. I stared at the screen while sipping cold coffee from the day before, letting the weight of the silence sit. Finally, I typed. I updated our arrangement. No reply. By noon, my mom was at my door. She didn't knock softly. She pounded like she owned the place. When I opened, she was dressed like she was heading to a boardroom. Sleek blazer, sharp heels, a red folder clutched tight under one arm. The words "Urgent Review" were printed in bold across the front. "Can I come in?" she said flatly, already stepping over the threshold before I answered. I stood aside, silent. She dropped her purse on the coffee table like it was her living room, not mine. "You canceled the transfer," she said, her voice tight, almost accusing. "I did," I replied. Her eyes flared. Without a word, I didn't think I owed an announcement. "You think money excuses silence?" she snapped. "Your sister is drowning. And this," she shoved the folder toward me. "This is her eviction notice." I looked at it, but didn't touch it. "And this is your solution? March in here like I'm the one who failed her." "You were helping. Because you can. That's what family does." "No," I said, quieter this time. "That's what I've done. Every first of the month. For 36 months. Without a single thank you." She stiffened, lips pressed tight. "All I get," I continued, "are cold texts when the money's late. No calls. No birthday wishes. Nothing until the bank account pings." "She's your sister," my mom said, softening slightly. "And you have the means." I let out a slow breath. "Yeah, but I don't have the patience anymore. Not for this version of family, the kind that treats support like salary." I started sending money after my father died. A sudden heart attack. One day he was here, the next, he was gone. And as soon as we buried him, my mother sat at the table with printed bills and said, "Now you're the man of this family." I hadn't even processed the shock yet. I just sat there, nodded, listened to her listing how much was left on my sister's apartment loan, how much was needed for her son's kindergarten, for insurance, for groceries. And honestly, I didn't object. I had a good job. I earned well and lived alone. Compared to them, I really did have a privileged life. That's when I set up the transfer. $2,000 every month. No questions. No demands. At first, they were grateful. Mom said, "You're our rock." My sister sent heart emojis. And then, like someone flipped a switch, the thanks disappeared. The greetings disappeared. All that was left were reminders if something didn't hit by midnight on the 1st. "You didn't send. You're late with the payment. They charged me a penalty because of you." My sister Mari quit her job 3 months after Dad died. She said she couldn't manage being a good mom while working full-time. Mom, of course, supported that. And me? I just kept sending money. Then the new request started. "Can you send another 500 for Sam's dental care? Mari wants to enroll in online courses. She needs a laptop. We want to go away for a few days to the lake because the kid sleeps poorly in the city." I didn't respond. I just added more to the transfer. Because that's what good sons do. Good brothers, right? Until I visited them unannounced. It was July, hot, the weekend. I just decided to drop by, bring Sam a new t-shirt with the comics he loves. I knew he'd be home, since they wrote they couldn't afford any entertainment. And what did I see? A new PlayStation in the living room. Unpacked delivery boxes. My sister on the couch with a glass of wine. And Sam sitting with an iPad, wearing headphones, watching cartoons on a paid streaming service. I stood in the doorway with a bag of gifts, and Mom came out of the kitchen holding a brand new blender. "Oh, you didn't say you were coming," she said with the same smile she usually gave when I handed her checks. I didn't reply, just looked around. At the new curtains, the new coffee machine, the fridge with magnets from a trip to Santa Monica, the one they couldn't afford. And then I asked for the first time, "Where's my money going?" Mom frowned. "To the family. Like always." "Really?" "Because I see $1,000 game console. And a new iPad. And Santa Monica." Mom shrugged. "Mari deserves a break too. It's hard for her. She's a single mom." I turned to my sister. "You don't even work. And still live better than most." Mari raised an eyebrow. "Oh, right. Because it's so hard for you, sitting in your office with your latte. Not everyone has your privileges. That was the first crack. And after that, the avalanche. I have those privileges because I worked 60 hours a week. I was almost yelling. While you were out with friends, I studied nights. While you pretend life is unfair, I've been carrying you, Mom, and this kid on my back. No need for drama, Mom said. You never complained before. I never asked because I thought you really needed help. Now I see. You just got used to living off me. Sam looked at me. He's 7. Not his fault. But he was a witness. And I decided. That same evening I came home, opened my laptop, and hit cancel transfer. Not for a month. Forever. When my mother showed up at my door with that red folder, I still held it together. Barely. I told myself it was just another guilt trip, just another performance. But the next morning, I got a video that made everything snap. It came from Sam, not my nephew, but a coworker who happened to be at the mall that weekend with his girlfriend. He sent it with a simple message. Isn't this your sister? The video showed Mari inside a sleek boutique, laughing as she tried on a pair of designer boots, thigh-high suede, at least $800. The kind you don't wear to job interviews or rainy sidewalks. Her son Sam was slouched on a velvet bench, holding a triple scoop sundae dripping chocolate all over his shirt. And there, a few feet behind them, was my mother, casually chatting with a cashier as she slid her card into the machine. The kicker? The timestamp. It was taken exactly 2 days after I got a desperate message from Mari that read, "We can't afford groceries this week. Please, just this once, help us out again." I watched that clip on loop. Once, twice, 7 times. Each viewing scraped away what little was left of my patience. I didn't text. I didn't call. I grabbed my keys, got in my car, and drove straight to their apartment. My ears buzzed the whole drive. Not from traffic, from rage. When I knocked, Mari opened the door with a practiced smile, that wide, rehearsed grin she always gave when she needed something. "Wow, twice in 1 week," she said, leaning on the doorframe. "You okay? Are you?" I replied, walking past her before she could stop me. The moment I stepped inside, I felt it, the scent of fresh baked goods, lavender candles, and entitlement. Mom was in the kitchen, humming while she made tea. Like this was just a cozy family Sunday. Like I hadn't been funding this illusion of survival. "I want answers," I said. My voice was calm. That scared them more than if I'd shouted. Mari blinked. "About what?" "You told me you couldn't pay rent, couldn't feed your kid, couldn't buy school supplies. And then I see you dropping hundreds on boots and ice cream like you're prepping for a Vogue shoot." Her face froze. The mask slipped. "You're spying on us now?" she hissed. "I don't need to spy. The world has eyes, and the truth has a funny way of leaking out." Mom walked in holding her mug. "This isn't the time or place." "No, this is exactly the time. You want to talk about privilege? Let's talk about how mine has been treated like a family budget line. You didn't just rely on me. I felt like I wasn't being respected or seen." Mari's voice raised. "I needed those boots for an interview. For confidence." "For confidence?" "They looked like something you'd wear to a nightclub, not a job interview." She gasped. "You lied." Repeatedly. "And when the lie didn't pay out on the first of the month, you doubled down with pressured by expectations I never agreed to." Mom stepped between us. "You don't talk to your sister like that." I turned to her. "Come again." "No, I don't talk to my sister like that. But that woman over there? She hasn't acted like my sister in years." Mari's hands were shaking. "You think this is easy? Raising a child alone? Losing our father? You think I didn't lose him too?" I snapped. I cried in silence. I paid bills. I showed up. You spent your grief like credit. Mari flinched. "You think you're so above us. With your job, your apartment, your savings." "No," I said. "I don't think I'm better. But I am responsible. And you used that against me." She threw her cup into the sink, porcelain shattering, tea splashing across the counter. "You're just bitter. You never had what I had. You were always jealous. Always outside the circle." There it was. The core truth. The family wound. I nodded. "Yeah, I was jealous. Jealous of how easily you got away with everything. How no matter how little you did, you were always the favorite." Her voice dropped to a growl. "Because I needed more." "No," I said. "You just took more." I pulled an envelope from my pocket, slapped it onto the table. "What's that?" Mom asked, still reeling. "A breakdown. 3 years. $2,000 monthly. Plus the extras. The emergency laptop. The surprise school trip, the birthday party bailout, the new tires for your car, the groceries, the rent, the gas bills. Total? $84,600. Mari scoffed. You want it back? No, I said. I don't. Because you can't pay it back. And that's the point. You can't even comprehend the weight I've carried. Mom sat down slowly, as if the numbers had knocked her legs out from under her. So what? Mari spat. You're cutting us off? After everything. After everything. I confirmed. You made me your silent provider, your financial punching bag, your golden ticket, and I played along. But I'm done. Mari stepped forward, eyes wild. And what about Sam? My son? You'd leave him in this mess. I exhaled. I'll send him birthday gifts. Christmas cards. I'll be an uncle, not a wallet. And Mom? She asked. I've taken care of Mom too. When she needed her car fixed, when the AC broke, when she had that hospital copay. But I'm not her retirement plan. You're abandoning your family, Mom whispered again. No, I said, standing. I'm releasing myself from a system that never saw me as family. Only function. The silence that followed was the loudest sound I've ever heard. Mari finally muttered, You're cruel. No, I'm finally fair. And I turned toward the door. Where are you going? Mom called after me. Home, I said without turning around. To my home. The one that's mine. The one I built. The one you never even asked about, because you were too busy asking for more. Mari followed me out into the hallway. You'll regret this. One day, you'll need us. I smiled sadly. I needed you for years. You weren't there. You don't get to threaten me with something I've already survived. Then I got into my car and drove. No shaking hands. No second guessing. Just me, the road, and the start of a life I finally got to call my own. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel guilt. I felt free. I expected the silence. After I walked away, after I cut the cord, no calls, no texts. Not for 2 weeks. The transfer didn't resume, and neither did the performance. It was like I'd pulled the plug in the middle of the family group chat and walked away before it exploded. But then came the ripple. First, a message from my cousin Lana. Just 3 words. You okay, man? She'd clearly heard something. I asked her directly, what did they say? She responded with a screenshot. My sister Mari had posted a cryptic sob story on Facebook. A long, dramatic paragraph about being abandoned by those who are supposed to protect you. About how some people turn their back when times get tough. And the kicker, some relatives only love you when they're in control. I didn't respond publicly. I didn't have to, because then came the fallout. Apparently, Mari had burned through what little savings she had, if you could call it that, in under 3 weeks. Rent was late. School fees unpaid. The electricity bill unpaid. No backup. No safety net. Mom tried to help. For the first time in years, she offered up her own credit card. But it got declined. That's when I got the knock. It was a Tuesday. I'd just gotten home from work. It had rained that day, and I was still shaking water from my coat when the door buzzed. Mom. Alone. No folder this time. No blazer. Just a windbreaker and a plastic bag that said pharmacy in fading letters. Can I come in? She asked. I didn't say anything. Just opened the door and walked to the kitchen. She followed. I'm not here to fight, she said quietly, sitting down at the table. I want to talk. I poured myself a glass of water. Sat across from her. Waited. She didn't look angry. She looked tired. Like someone who hadn't slept in weeks. Mari's in trouble, she started. They're behind on rent. She might lose the apartment. I nodded slowly. Actions have consequences. She made mistakes. I did too. But that boy, he doesn't deserve this. That got me. Sam, the one innocent person in this disaster. I tried hard to separate my anger from him, but yeah, it still stung. She didn't just make mistakes, I said, finally. She built a life on my back and treated me like a resource, not a person. So did you? Mom flinched. I know, she whispered. I didn't see it. Or maybe I didn't want to see it. After your father died, I just needed things to stay stable. And you were stability. And you used that, I said, again and again. Tears welled in her eyes. But for once, I didn't cave. You always said I was the strong one, I continued. But you used that strength as an excuse to never ask if I was okay. She reached across the table, but I didn't take her hand. I'm not asking for money, she said. I just want you to know. I see it now. What we did. What I did. And I'm sorry. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't loud. but it hit harder than any scream. I appreciate that, I said, but I'm not coming back. Not to the way things were. That version of me, the one who says yes to everything, who sacrifices himself because family, he's gone. She nodded, slowly, like someone accepting a painful truth they'd avoided for too long. Do you hate me? She asked, barely audible. I shook my head. No, but I'm done carrying you. We sat in silence for a while. She left with more than she came with. Not money, not promises. Just the truth. But that wasn't the end. A few days later, I got a message from Mari. One sentence. I want to talk. I stared at it for 5 full minutes. Then replied. About what? She didn't type for a long time. Then, everything. We met at a cafe. Neutral ground. She looked different. Less polished. Less invincible. She was wearing a coat I recognized from 5 years ago. Her eyes were rimmed with exhaustion. I was wrong, she said before I even sat down. That stunned me. I used you, she said. I manipulated you. I played the victim when I was the architect of my own mess. I didn't speak. I just let her talk. You didn't deserve any of that, she went on. And I know I said horrible things. About you. To you. Behind your back. I said you were cold. Selfish. Controlling. But the truth is, I was jealous. That made me raise an eyebrow. I was jealous that you could say no, she said. That you had boundaries. That people respected you, even if they leaned on you too hard. And I hated myself for not being able to build anything without you holding it up. It was the most honest thing she'd said to me in years. I took a breath. I don't hate you, I told her. But I can't save you anymore. You have to do that on your own. She nodded, swallowing tears. I'm going to get a job, she said. A real one. I'm not asking you for help. I just wanted you to know I'm trying. We sat in silence. This time, not uncomfortable. Just real. I'll still be Sam's uncle, I said. But don't mistake kindness for permission to start over with the same patterns. I won't, she said. I promise. And for the first time, I believed her. It's been 6 months. No more $2,000 drained into a black hole every first of the month. No more early morning texts demanding rent. No more fake gratitude wrapped in entitlement. No more sitting at dinner pretending I'm not suffocating. What I have now is silence and peace. At first, the quiet felt foreign. Not comforting, terrifying. I'd spent so long with my life orbiting around their needs, their debts, their drama, that when all of that fell away, I didn't know what remained of me. Turns out, a lot. But I had to learn how to live without the weight first. The first month, I kept checking my phone out of reflex, bracing myself for that inevitable buzz. Payment didn't come through. But nothing came. Not a word. The second month, I started to feel something unfamiliar creeping in. Relief. Guilt tried to chase it, but this time, I didn't open the door. I spent an entire weekend by the sea. Just me, a sketchpad I hadn't touched in 10 years, and silence so thick it wrapped around me like a blanket instead of a noose. I watched the tide crash and realized, I'm still here. And for the first time, I don't owe anyone for that. That's when it began. The return of me. I signed up for a pottery class. I started biking in the mornings. I went to a jazz night downtown, alone, and left smiling. These may sound small, but when you've lived your entire life in emotional chains, freedom feels like rebellion. Then came the letters. 2, delivered on the same day. One from Mari, one from Mom. Mari's was handwritten, uneven cursive, smeared ink. She wrote like someone who finally had to use her own hands to clean up her own mess. She told me she got a job. Call center. Entry level. Miserable pay. But hers. She said she hadn't touched wine in 98 days. That she wakes up early now, makes Sam breakfast, gets him to school on time without screaming. She said she still sometimes cries in the bathroom, but they're real tears now, not crocodile ones for manipulation. She didn't ask for money. She asked for a shot. A real one. To prove she could be someone I'd want in my life again. I didn't reply. Not yet. But I kept the letter. Folded it carefully. Like something sacred. Mom's letter was cleaner. Typed. Precise. But this time, she didn't defend. She confessed. She said I had always been the strong one, and that she used that as an excuse to forget I was also human. She admitted she leaned too hard. That when Dad died, she collapsed inward and clung to whoever could keep her world standing, even if it meant exploiting her own son. Then she wrote one sentence I'll never forget. You gave us stability while we took your silence for consent. That broke me. Not in anger. In grief. Grief for all the years I let myself disappear so others could shine. She ended her letter with, "You're not cold. You're courageous. I see it now. I'm sorry it took losing you to learn that." I didn't cry right away. I read it 5 times, then 6. Then I let myself break. Fully. Openly. Alone. It wasn't pain. It was release. Like shaking off chains I didn't even know were still clinging to my skin. Now, I don't flinch when the phone buzzes. I don't panic when the first of the month rolls around. I don't shrink when someone says, "family." I ask, which kind? The kind that bleeds you? Or the kind that sees you? Because I've learned. There are families we're born into. And families we choose. Even if that family is just yourself. Sam, my nephew, still calls me. Sometimes we talk about school. Other times we talk about space, superheroes, or what makes the best grilled cheese. One night he said, "Mom says you're the strongest person she knows. She says she wants to be like you." I nearly dropped the phone. This isn't about revenge. It never was. It's about breaking a cycle. It's about not apologizing for walking away from people who only notice your worth when it stops feeding them. It's about building a life that doesn't require collapse to be noticed. I'm not the same person who nodded quietly while writing checks to people who wouldn't show up for me unless I was paying. That version of me is gone. Buried. Mourned. Respected, but not revived. Now, I have boundaries, not walls. I offer kindness, not obligation. I give, but only when it doesn't cost me myself. I'm not their foundation anymore. I'm my own. And I'm finally standing tall.